Madam Secretary, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Cook? Yes. Commissioner Gammon? Commissioner Gooch?
Here.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Here.
And Chairman Ketron.
Here. Looks like we have a quorum. We'll now be prepared to conduct our business. I'm going to take a few things out of order of what's been placed in front of you as far as the agenda is concerned. First, I would like to, we're going to go with new bids, and then when we get under advisement, I'm going to take the cleaning for the Murfreesboro and Smyrna Health Department. Our directors here, that will give us a little bit of time. We'll go back to the long-term, short-term disability, and because our director, solid waste director, would like to take the tires, we do have 4 bids, and he wants to step aside, go through those. So while we're discussing the long-term, short-term disability, it'll give him time to review that, come back and make his recommendation to us instead of having to delay it for another month or so. So that'll buy us a little bit of time and let Mac take care of that. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with new bids on tires. We have 4 bids. There were 8 invitations extended. So we'll start with the first bid. Laura? Okay, the first bid is from Best One Tires. We have the Iran Divestment Act complied with. Contract monitoring form compliance survey was included. And these are our prices. This is on a 11R22.5 new Firestone, highway tread, $285.72. Next one is a 11R22.5 Firestone semi-aggressive tread, $306.67. Next is a 225/70R 19.5 highway tread, $207.80. Next is a 225/70R 19.5 Firestone semi-aggressive, $197.41. We have a 425/65R 22.5 highway tread, $498.72. We have a 315/85R 22.5 highway tread, $395 even. Next is a 11R22.5 cap, Bandag BDL, $109.98. Next we have a 11R22.5 case. The description is an A. It's $55. Next is 11R22.5 recap, our case, Bandag BDL, $109.98. Service call per trip, $45. After hours or holiday service call, $50. Mounting, dismounting per tire, $17.50. Tire repair, patch, $18. Tire repair boot, $5. Tire repair section, $28.50. Valve stem per tire, $3.50. Alignment per truck, not applicable. That is the sealed bid from Best One Tires.
This here is from Piedmont Tires.
The next bid is from Piedmont Tires. Mark Allen Lane, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Where was the other one from? Have an address?
They're Murfreesboro.
North
North Star.
North Star Drive, Murfreesboro, Tennessee was the first bidder. Again, this is Piedmont Tires. So we'll start with the first one is the 11R22.5 highway tread, $290. Next is a 11R22.5 semi-aggressive, $290. Next is a 225/70 R19.5 highway tread, $165. Next is a 225/70 R 19.5 semi-aggressive, $170. I believe those first two were general. These last two are Pirelli. Next we have a 425/65 R 22.5 highway tread, $440, general tire. 315/85 R 22.5 highway tread, $395, general. 11R 22.5 cap, $108. Next is a 11R 22.5 case, grade A, $65. 11R 22.5 recap our case, $108. Service call per trip, $50. After hour holiday service call, $75. Mounting, dismounting per tire, $20. Tire patch, $23. Tire repair boot, $6. Tire repair section, $34. Valve stem per tire, $4. And alignment per truck, $95. There was no RAND investment in with that bid? This is Quality Tire. I believe they're on I think they were on Readout Lane. Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Okay, first tire is 11R 22.5 highway tread, $255. 11R 22.5 semi-aggressive, $290. 22570R 19.5 highway tread, $225. 22570R 19.5 semi-aggressive, $230. 42565R 22.5 highway tread, $490. 31585R 22.5 highway tread, $395. 11R 22.5 cap, $115. 11R 22.5 case, $69. And 11R 22.5 recap our case, $115. Service call per trip, $75. After hours holiday service call, $95. Mounting, dismounting per tire, $15.15. I guess that was $15 per mounting and $15 dismounting. Tire repair patch, $29. Tire repair boot, $35/55. Tire repair section, $35/65. Valve stem per tire, $6. And alignment per truck was blank.
Southern Tire Mart.
This is, our last bid is from Southern Tire Mart, LLC, Hermitage Drive, Nashville, Tennessee. First tire is 11R 22.5 highway tread, $285 general tire. Next is 11R 22.5 semi-aggressive Firestone, $311.67. Next is 22570R 19.5 highway tread, $212.78 Firestone. Next is 22570R 19.5 semi-aggressive Continental, $255. Next is 42565R 22.5 highway tread, $460 General Grabber. 31585R 22.5 highway tread, $390 Firestone. 11R 22.5 cap Bandag RTP is $120.89, and then Bandag DBL is $100.85. 11R 22.5 case is $30. And then 11R 22.5 recap our case Bandag RTP $120.89, and Bandag BDL $185. Service call per trip is $85. After hours holiday service call is $120. Mounting, dismounting per tire is $35. Tire patch is $30. Tire repair boot, it says C notes, B24 repair medium patch 15. Tire repair section, C notes, bead repair $5. And B40 repair large patch $20. Valve stem per tire $650. Alignment per truck is $150. Alignments would be handled at our Dixon store location. So that's in, I would assume, in Dixon, Tennessee. 3-axle alignment per truck is $250. They have the contract monitoring form compliance in their RAND investment form. I believe, I didn't mention that on the last one. I do believe that they do have theirs, both.
Yes, the only one that did not was Piedmont.
Piedmont was the only one. All right. Okay. Mac, you want to come up and take these under advisement? You can go back and study them and compare the two while we move on with the rest of our business.
We only have one copy of this, so that's all I have. So
Okay.
guard it.
Okay, next, members, we're going to move down under, which we took under advisement at the April 8th meeting. First, I'm going to go in reverse order. Cleaning of the Murfreesboro and Smyrna Health Department. Dana, if you'd like to come forward, and we will give us, you took that under advisement. If you'll come back and make your recommendation to us, you're recognized.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Mayor. So we did look over these, and our lowest bid was Plan 9 Cleaning Services, and we'd like to advise to use them.
Okay. Plan 9. Plan 9 Cleaning Services. Have a motion to accept the recommendation from the director and a second from Commissioner Gammon. Any discussion, comments? Seeing none, is there a motion for acceptance? Oh, we got a motion and a second. All in, let's call the roll. Sorry.
Commissioner Cook? Yes. Commissioner Gammon? Yes. Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo? Yes. Commissioner Johnson? Yes. Commissioner Jernigan? Yes. And Chairman Ketron?
Aye.
Okay.
So Dana, you can, I guess you can get them started today. You know, next 5 minutes is not too soon to clean the health department, right? Keep it clean, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah, would you hand that to? Sure. And then
Okay.
we can pass it around and give it back to me then.
All right, members, follow the procedures. We'll all sign off on that, and
Anything else from you?
you just contact them and set up the arrangements of when you want them to start. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate your support.
Thank you. Okay. I thought I asked for it. I didn't. Well, my secretary told me that we did not approve the minutes from the last meeting, so I need to back up and do that. Is there a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting? Got a motion to accept the minutes? And a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of acceptance of the minutes of the April 8th meeting, signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carries. I've been wearing my mask too long. I think I'm breathing my own carbon monoxide, and it makes me a little sleepy, so I'm not paying attention. Okay, next, Mr. Elam. you and others have taken our long-term and short-term disability, along with our basic and accident insurance, under advisement, the rates that affect all of our county employees. So you're now recognized to go over all these with the committee.
Thank you, Chairman Ketron. In front of you, you have 8.5 by 14. There's 5 pages here talking about the basic life, short-term, long-term disability here. The first 3 pages breaks down your quotes individually. The last 2 pages is kind of a summary, and we have Mercer online, and what I would like for them to kind of give you a breakdown of this, how we arrived at these estimates, and they were instrumental in putting together RFPs and taking the quotes and then dissecting this to get to this point. So, Jay, or you or Jake?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Perfect. Yes. So what you have in front of you is the exhibits. I will go through each, but just real quick, I like what the last presenter did there. At the end, I'll do the punchline first. The life and disability offerings, we had several different vendors submit proposals. When we kind of boiled it all down to the end, we were able to find 2 vendors to partner together and end up saving around $250,000 per year for a 3-year contract with the rates locked in. So that's, you know, in today's world where we're definitely crunched with budget, we'll be able to save right at $750,000 over the next 3 years with the proposal recommendations I'm about to go through. So I thought we could all use some good news these days. So I'd start off with the punchline. If we go back to the top, currently your life and AD&D is with Standard. We had 3 proposals that we presented. There was a couple others that we received that were higher than these proposals, so we only spreadsheeted the 3. Standard, which is your incumbent, came in with no increase for 3 years. Cigna, who has the disability, came in a little less than current. And then MetLife, is who we're about to recommend for this coverage, came in at $112,000, almost $113,000 savings guaranteed per year over the next 3 years. And this benefit, unlike some of the others we've talked about in the past, it's you know, you don't have to worry about is my doctor in the network or how broad's the network. The benefits, as you can see across the basic life, employer paid benefits are the same. The voluntary benefits for this, so employees can elect life insurance, accidental death coverage. You can kind of see there, those benefits are the same, but for both the employer and the employee, you can see if we look through there for this coverage under the medical on the first page, the differences. But essentially at the end on this one, we'll be recommending moving from Standard, who did a good job, to MetLife, who currently offers your voluntary benefits. So your critical illness and cancer policies today are offered through MetLife. So we'll be pairing that together with Met as the recommendation. The disability, we divided up into short-term, which is on the next page, short-term and long-term disability, offered through Cigna today. The short-term disability is employee paid, so the employees pay for this coverage. As you can kind of see at the bottom, Cigna offered no increase, Standard offered a slight decrease, and then Met offered a little bit of a decrease there. So not a huge discount here, but the employees that purchase this plan will see a little bit of a savings if they decide to, if we decide to move to Standard, which is the recommendation we'll be suggesting here in a second. So Standard is the best savings for the short term as well as the long term. So if you look on the third page, the employer pays this coverage. So essentially, currently with Cigna offered no increase to stay with them for 3 years. And then Standard offered almost a 20% reduction, $119,000 per year for the next 3 years, pretty much duplicating the current plan for both the short term and the long term. MetLife was still lower, so there was an opportunity to go the same vendor for all 3 lines of coverage, but due to the economic state and the kind of the situation we're in, we're looking for really to save every penny that we can while keeping the benefits the same as much as possible. So we rolled everything up for you guys to look on the last 2 pages. I guess the 4th page shows current rolled up, and then if you went with Cigna, if you went with Standard, if you went with Met. So we kind of looked at it and met with Mr. Elam and Ms. Griffey on this to say, there's an opportunity for some ease of administration to potentially stay with the same carrier, still see some savings for going with either all in on Standard or MetLife, or, which is the recommendation on the last page, you have the opportunity to move from Cigna to MetLife for the life AD&D, to Standard for the short-term and long-term disability, and essentially save the employees and the county almost $254,000 per year, guaranteed for the next 3 years. So that's on the last page. That's the punchline for that. And then also, these products would go into place, as we can see, January 1st, 2021. Mr. Elam, I don't know if you want to cover anything specific.
No, that's the 4th page basically is to take a look at implementation costs, because sometimes your implementation costs, the lower price when you look at the implementation costs may not be the cheapest. But as you look at the 4th page, you can tell there is a savings, but not near as much of a savings as the last page. So with the $253,993 estimated to be the savings there, there's nowhere close implementation cost that's going to exceed that. So that's going to be the recommendation. It is, with all 4 of these, we're changing the current vendor that we have now. So there is quite a bit of work to get those changes made and to have that implemented by January 1. We have to have this ready for the annual enrollment and publications to go out. This is why we bid it so early, to be able to send it out to new hires, send it out, and schools will start hiring a lot of people in June, July, and August. So all of our publications have to have these figures in there, getting people ready for annual enrollment and to make their decisions in October for it to be implemented January 1. So that's where we're looking at the last page. With the rates exhibited in each one with MetLife, and you see the savings there, and then also with MetLife on the voluntary life AD&D with a short-term, long-term disability with Standard, long-term disability with Standard, and as those rates are exhibited on your sheets in front of you. That was also the Insurance and Benefits and Insurance Committee's recommendation also on that back page to show which vendors to go with. It's in the far column to your right. Yes, ma'am.
Do I understand this right? MetLife is cheaper than
on the basic life AD&D and the voluntary life AD&D. They were cheaper. Yes, ma'am. Yes, that would be our recommendation with MetLife Basic Life AD&D, MetLife Voluntary Life AD&D, Short-Term Disability Standard, and Long-Term Disability Standard, based on the rates that have been presented here.
As Mr. Elam said, that was a recommendation of the Insurance and Benefits Committee. They went over and did a lot of scrutiny on this, but when you can save that kind of money, we don't have a lot of choice. $750,000 over a 3-year period, and that'll be put out for a 3-year bid. So that's considerable savings to us. And we're blessed in Rutherford County because we have some very what they refer to in the industry as rich benefits, which is an attraction for many of our employees to stay with us and not leave us because of not only such a great county to live in, but also our benefits. If you work for Rutherford County, it's good to have those decent benefits that you know you can count on when you do get sick, because that's, you hope you never do, but when you do, you want to make sure you got good benefits and don't have to fight with whoever about whether it's covered or not. So with these recommendations, they're all good companies that's being recommended. Jay, looks like you finally made it to get a haircut today, huh? They opened back up, huh?
I lost the haircut challenge, actually. My son did it.
Ah. Okay. Yes, sir. Have a motion and a second for acceptance of all of the contracts as presented for our benefits. Now, we'll open for any discussion or comments.
I'll just comment
Gooch.
that I appreciate the insurance committee and the staff for. I can look at this document, and I know it's a lot of information to put together. It's not as easy as you just look at this 5-page document. So I do appreciate. I was on the insurance committee years ago, so I know what work went into this, and I appreciate everyone involved in it. And I do appreciate the savings too.
Absolutely, and now the real work comes for Ed and his department of trying to transfer all of that over and make sure everybody's signed up and nobody falls through the cracks. Right?
That's why we pay him the big bucks.
That's right. That's right. He's smiling, isn't he? Any further discussion? Mr. Elam, any comment, last comments?
No, the only thing I want to say is you all saw the boxes. Mercer did a great job seeking out, and I think this is a representation of how hard the work was put in to get the vendors in, to get the bids, and they combed through the RFPs, and again, I think this is the result of a lot of hard work, and I have to give a lot of credit to Mercer in the work that they did to bring this to the table for us.
I totally agree, and thank you, Mercer, for all the hard work, working with our risk management department, working with Director Elam. But it also shows that we are a very attractive client, and it shows with the type of savings when you put it out to bid. When people want your business real bad, they're willing to sharpen their pencil, and we are the benefactor of being able to put that out to bid. So we thank everybody on this, and we'll be served well for the next 3 years. So the motion before us with a second is to accept as presented. Madam Secretary, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon? Yes. Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo? Yes. Commissioner Johnson?
I guess I should declare rule number 10 because I'm retired.
Rule 10. Rule 10 is accepted by Commissioner Johnson. And he votes aye. Rule 10 on Commissioner Gammon, and he votes aye.
What was that?
Rule 10, R-U-L-E 10. It's a conflict of interest in our handbook.
Okay.
So when they're voting and it does have a conflict, and it allows them to vote their conscience, but they're notifying the public that they are declaring that publicly. Didn't want anybody holding it against them. So we just shortened it, instead of having to read a whole paragraph, it's just Rule 10. So we declare Rule 10. Okay.
Commissioner Jernigan? And Chairman Ketron.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Elam.
What do they need to sign? Is this enough for them to
Yeah.
sign, just this one of these?
Yeah. We'll pass this around and get everyone to sign that. Looks like Mr. Nolan is making his way back into the chamber, and we'll call him to the well to make his recommendation after he's taken the bids under advisement.
Let's sign the last page, page 5.
Mr. Nolan, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. We had some pretty good bids. The last bid is the Southern Tire. They've got an office in Nashville and one in Dixon. They don't have anything local. All of our trucks are here local, so and their pricing was a little bit higher too. What I'm recommending to the committee is we award the bid to Best One, Piedmont, and Quality Tire. We get a little bit better mix across the board. We're currently under a two bidder system that has worked out fairly well with Best One and Piedmont. So I'm recommending we award 3 bidders.
All right. Members, Mr. Nolan, the Secretary says that our attorney says that we can accept the bid, but we cannot award the bid if you did not turn in the Iran divestment form, and their bid was without.
Which bid?
Piedmont.
So we cannot award Piedmont the bid?
That's correct.
If we take the bids under advisement and come back, and they get it to us, then we can, but if we award it the same night.
We cannot. So what she's saying is that you would have to take it under advisement and let them file and have it notarized, the Iran divestment.
And we have a meeting in 2 weeks.
And we have a meeting in 2 weeks. It's your call. You want to take both? So your recommendation is tonight is take both bids under advisement. Matter of fact, I believe Quality also did not have their Iran divestment notarized. They signed it.
Well, I talked to one of the bidders, and something about the notary's seal when it copies doesn't show.
On the original.
Look on.
For this year's, what is this? This is Southern Tire.
Yeah, look on Quality.
One of yours that the notary's seal doesn't show up when it's made a copy of? It's there. Okay.
This original is not here. It's not. And he come forward. Sure.
It's on Quality.
Quality. They do have the Iran divestment signed by Tina Brown, owner, May 5th, but not signed by a notary. So if you take both under advisements and let them get the Iran divestment form back to us in 2 weeks, then you would be able to accept it when we meet again, if that's your will.
And we take them under advisement and award in 2 weeks?
As long as we have both these forms back.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mac. Okay, we'll have some tires in 2 weeks, looks like. Last thing, members, I need your direction. I want to discuss sole source requirements and guidelines. Yeah, well, we might as well for the record. I'm not sure that we have to if he just wants to take it under advisement. Let's go ahead and say that he's going to take it under advisement and come back with those 2 forms. Make a motion to defer and take under advisement Southern and Quality tires, okay, in order to complete the form. Piedmont, I'm sorry. Piedmont and Quality tires will come back in 2 weeks with 2 forms filled out, okay? We have a motion. Is there a second? Second, Joe Frank Jernigan. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carries. Now, members, what I'm looking for is some direction for my office to follow when we're talking about sole source requirements and guidelines. So I would like this committee to look at this because Laura, she receives the purchase orders when they come in from the different departments, okay? And when they come in, many times the departments just don't want to go through the process of checking to see, is there a better quote? Is it on the state purchasing contract? Is it listed? They just want to come in and say, it's a sole source contract. And nobody else in the world makes that product or can get that for us. And it's an easy way of just, what I'm looking to do is saying not to accept any sole source contract unless it's, you know, like a Barrett 50 caliber or something like that. But I'll use this as an example, okay? Recently, Sheriff's Department came in with a new generator. Virgil, you know, that generator's been out there for a long time, and it's a very important, it's a beast of a generator because it powers the entire jail, and you sure don't want 900 prisoners for it to get hot. If the electricity were to go out at 100 degrees, it's unsafe, or 0 degrees, it's unsafe when you get that many prisoners. So you want to make sure, and I'm committed to helping them get the new generator. Well, they had someone in the department, the generator right now is a Kohler, like same company makes toilets, you know, but it's the Kohler brand. And they said it was sole source. And I said, I don't believe that because the price tag was $760,000 for a new generator. I took it out of the budget because I'm going to pay for it in a new grant that we're getting from the state. But I just happened to pick up the phone and call Caterpillar with Thompson Machinery and Laverne, and I called Cummings down in Laverne also. I don't have the quote back from Cummings. They'll have it to me this week. But Thompson Machinery came in at $273,000. So when a department tells me that it's sole source, I want to be able to reject that and say, go back and bring me 2 more quotes. Okay, I just don't believe, unless they're willing to say that it's the only company in the entire world on this planet that makes that one device, and it's patented and nobody else can get it. I would like to have some direction to back up the office to where Laura can say, no, bring me 2 more quotes. Well, it's just good business. I mean, if I hadn't picked up the phone and challenged it and gone with that, we'd be paying. And when I talked to Sheriff said, there could be something wrong. And I said, yeah, Kohler trying to stick us. That's what's wrong. You know, all due respect, but, you know, this is not my money. It's not our money. It belongs to our citizens. And so that's all I'm looking for. Commissioner Gooch.
Thank you. Would that not need to be bidded out?
We are going to bid it out.
But by them saying it's a sole source, that means they're saying that no one else in the world makes it. It's easy
just to say that it's sole source, and so you end up being complacent and go along with it. And so we started reading the requirements on the state grant that we're going to get anyway, and they're going to require 3 bids. So we've got it covered, and they're going to get a new generator. I promise you that. Yeah. But I just use that as an example.
But an example like that, because of the cost, it would be bidded out normally. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. If they say it's sole source and we believe them and nobody.
But if you say, okay, so you don't believe them, and you know there's other companies out there, at that point would it be sent out to
when I questioned that, I said, what do you mean it's sole source? And they said, well, the wiring that comes from the generator and goes into the building and gets hooked in, it has to be Kohler. And I was going, wiring is wiring. You know, it's up to us It's up to the commission to challenge anything brought to us. I mean, that's what you all are sworn in to be the caretakers, or I guess, you know, you have a duty to protect the tax dollar. And that's what I'm looking for, is just the backing that when Laura sees something and the department wants to argue with her and say, you know, it's sole source, we don't have to put that out to bid, or it's not on statewide contract. And Virgil, yes, sir.
All the years that I was involved in bids, which was a lot, and in front of the committees.
Did a lot, yes, sir.
And there's only been a few times that we did a sole source, and it really was a sole source. However, normally, the only time I've ever seen this come in, and that's not an emergency purchase, would be that type of situation. But
right.
I agree. I don't know that really, if you bid it and you have nobody else but one person bid it, then you pretty much got a sole source in.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. You did not in the past have to bid it. That is true. We did run into those situations, but those are specific specialty items
Sure.
that some people just didn't make. Nobody made them. And especially when you get in a situation of an older computer system, things like that, you know, you're stuck. I mean, you know, when you buy the computer system for jails or wherever, they're already expired to start with. But no, I agree. I don't think that we should accept a sole source situation. If you have a situation, it may be an emergency purchase, but I agree. A committee should go through the committee process and be bid out.
Sure, absolutely. All right, you've got other circumstances of departments will come to you for requesting sole source and try to get you to.
Yes, what I typically run into is they want to say that their brand is sole source, like that this authorized dealer is only authorized to sell the brand. But I try to make them understand that we're looking at the product, not the brand name. That is not, so if the company is willing to give us a letter that they are the only one in the world that will, that makes that product, then I can see that being sole source. But if it's just their brand, there's all kinds, you know, that's not the same thing.
Well, Mac's already left, but I'll give you another example on Mac, because if you recall, he came to us last year, and there's a company here that we're working with called it's a compactor. Compactor crusher, whatever it is, and the guy he bought a franchise, and it's like a knuckle boom, and he backs up to our open top dumpsters, okay, and it's got this big drum on it with spikes, and puts it down in there, and it crushes all the stuff, and it actually crushes it down to where you got a full dumpster, and it crushes down where you got a half dumpster, so that gives you more airspace in order to keep dumping, okay, so that's one less trip that you have to make, so it saves you money. Well, I remember asking the question, and he said, no, this guy he bought the franchise, and he's the only one, because I questioned, why can't we buy one like that? And he said, well, you just can't do that. You know, it's the only one made by this company out of California. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I started just Googling, you know, and found out that there's one called Dumpster Devil that will sell it. It's red instead of green, and this company will sell it to you. It's made in Texas instead of California, and they'll sell it directly, and you don't have to pay $150,000 up front to buy the franchise, and then you go around and contract out to different municipalities. The guy's got a pretty good gig, but at the same time, it's something that we should look at. Could we save, with the amount of trash that we got going through here, we might could save money by buying our own machine, you know, and then having our guy that's all he does, just go around our different convenience centers and crushing it down. Because we only use this guy on a limited basis, mainly weekly, you know, where we get the most amount of trash. So those are ideas. I'm just looking for the backing, not really a motion of any sort, but the backing from the purchasing committee. Virgil?
One thing that also
Oh, yeah. 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 Absolutely. Well, it is, and like I say, we have the fiduciary responsibility to oversee, the commission does, to oversee, you know, the tax dollars. Back in 2010, it's downstairs on the wall. I've got that bill. When I carried the bill with the help of Justin Wilson, our comptroller, he helped me structure the bill, but it was the Procurement Act of 2010. And what was happening was that many of our departments, TDOT, TDAG, you know, TDOC, they would have a purchasing person in that department, and they were the, I guess, vendors, the private enterprise people would get to know them, or that might be their aunt or whoever, and they're able to get some sweetheart deals or know about something before the bid's put out. And I remember traveling to different conferences, legislative conferences, and they'd have a trade show set up down in one of the other rooms or something, booth set up, and you go around and say, well, this is really a neat product. Why don't you come to Tennessee? Are you doing business with anybody in Tennessee? No. And they say, you ought to do crooked in Tennessee. And I'd get embarrassed, and so I started talking with Comptroller Wilson, you know, and so we put together the bones of the Procurement Act of where it made everything transparent and allowed, that was the first year that Governor Haslam came in, so he was able to work and create a new department of procurement and purchasing, so they were able to put the meat on the bones and create what we have today. And then we allowed cities and counties to piggyback on statewide contracts. You know, it's much cheaper if you can buy copy paper by the train load as opposed to the carload, you know, a small truck. You know, it just makes more sense in today's time. We got to watch for the dollar. So I just share that with you, and hope we'll have the backing if Laura runs into trouble with any of our departments. Well, we can have that. Commissioner Cook, you're recognized.
I've been on purchasing for several years, and it's when I first started on purchasing committee, their bids would be written up, so-and-so company, Ford Manufacturing or whatever it is, you know. But we have tried over the years to get the bids written up without using a name or writing it up for a certain company. And that's something we have been very strict on.
Yeah, it's improved since I left here in 98, and it's much better. And thank you for.
And this committee here, I'm probably the only one on here that remembers a lot of this. No, Alan would, but I still don't think we should write them up for one company.
To favor one over the other, right? Yeah.
I think we should be very careful about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like I say, it's not our money. I'll share with you one more story and we'll go ahead and adjourn. Back when I first got in the insurance business, I remember, I think Ben Hall McFarland was the county judge at that time before it became county executive. And I'd just come into the business and they put out the property and casualty insurance bids at that time. And I saw the ad in the paper and I said, well, man, I could go up there. I'd like to quote on that. So I came up and I sit around in the probably that same little table that's downstairs in my room now, and sit around that table, and I was sitting in the background, but it was Dick Hendricks. I don't know if anybody remembered Dick, Ebby Miller, Slick Davidson, Al Evans, a couple other people, and myself. And Dick Hendricks leaned back and he goes, well, I've had this for the last 3 years. Whose turn is it to write this insurance? And I was going, whose turn is it? And I thought, no, put it out to bid, you know. Slick, isn't it your turn to get it for the next 3 years? Yeah, I think it is. I forgot the rotation on this. I was going, what? I'm not in that rotation, but we've come a long way. And Alan, you probably remember some of those guys that were here. Well, that's the way things were done in the past. But you know, we've come a long way. This is a big county. I mean, it's a big business today, and we spend a lot of money. But I just want, Carol.
We have come from 2 on the purchasing to 6 now.
Well, yeah, because those
And
two
that was hard to get it done that way.
Yeah, because all it took was the purchasing, well, I guess the county mayor and one other person the county executive and one other vote to award the bid to whoever they wanted to, right? Okay. Anything else to come for us tonight? Thank you all. We'll see you back in, we'll see, budget's tomorrow night. Anybody on budget, we'll see you tomorrow night. Yeah, thank you. Well, we'll stand adjourned.